I know everybody's already, has made videos about this, at least today, because I've seen a bunch of people uploading, talking about this, but I might as well make a video about it, right? Apparently, Wladimir Klitschko is coming back on May 25th. Apparently, he signed a multiple fight deal worth $120 million with DAZN. Now, none of this is confirmed. I've even saw somebody say maybe this might be an April Fool's joke because today is April 1st. So none of it is confirmed. But this is just what I see. Multiple sources online saying that a Ukrainian outlet has claimed that he's coming back on the 25th of May. Now, when it comes to Wladimir Klitschko is my childhood, basically. Like, when I first started watching boxing, when I first got into the heavyweight division, I became obsessed with, like, watching the classic fights. But the first guy who I started seeing was Wladimir Klitschko when it came to the heavyweights, because back then, he was the champion. This was, like, mid-2005, 2006. I was like 12 years old back then. I remember watching this dude at 12 years old. So whenever I look at Wladimir Klitschko fights, it's kind of like a nostalgic feeling because I pretty much grew up watching the guy fight. And it was kind of bittersweet seeing him get knocked the fuck out against Anthony Joshua because I was like, yo, I watched this dude growing up. But I honestly, for me, in all honesty, Wladimir Klitschko is not really old. It's not like he's 50 years old. He's only 43, right? It's not like he's ancient. It's not like he's Bernard Hopkins, right? 43 is not like that old, but he's definitely not in his prime anymore. And, the people are saying that the reason, because there's been speculations and rumors about him joining DAZN for several weeks now, and people were saying that he wanted to join DAZN to, like, get the rematches with Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, or maybe even try to get a fight with Deontay Wilder, but I don't know how that would happen because Deontay Wilder's not signed with DAZN. So the most likely fights for him in DAZN would be Anthony Joshua, the rematch. Remember, he was supposed to fight. He was going to fight Anthony Joshua in a rematch, but then he decided to retire instead. The thing about Wladimir Klitschko is I feel that he, just as a boxing fan, I feel that he should just stay retired because Wladimir Klitschko had a great, career. He had a great legacy. I mean, he went out of the game. He left the sport of boxing with a really great performance against Anthony Joshua, a guy who went on to become a unified champion, a guy who's probably going to go on to become undisputed heavyweight. And he was doing very well against him. He even managed to drop him. Matter of fact, he gave Anthony Joshua the toughest fight of his entire career. And he was 41 years old doing that. On top of that, he was a long-reigning champion, defending his unified belts for 9+ years. One of the longest reigns in the heavyweight division. Right behind, I believe, Joe Louis. So he had a great career. There was nothing, it wasn't a sad way for him to lose, to retire coming off a loss against Anthony Joshua, because that was a really good performance he put up against AJ. I thought that was one of his best performances. That was one of the most exciting performances I've seen. And I was happy when I heard he retired. I was like, that's a good look to retire like that. Because, like I said, no one has done what Wladimir Klitschko did to AJ. And Wladimir Klitschko wasn't even in his prime. So I thought it was a good look for him to retire like that. Excuse me. I don't think it's good for Wladimir Klitschko to keep fighting because that's how you ruin, like, your legacy. Because let's say he does join DAZN. Let's say this is true, and let's say he joins DAZN, and let's say they put him in there against, like, a weak opposition, and let's say he loses against that weak opposition. Let's say that's supposed to be like a tune-up fight, and he ends up losing against him. That kind of puts a dent in Wladimir Klitschko's legacy. And let's say he fights Anthony Joshua again. I'm definitely picking AJ to beat him again. AJ will knock him out again. And let's say he fights Tyson Fury, and let's say he loses. Let's say he fights Wilder. Let's say they actually make the Wilder fight. He gets knocked out against Wilder. I feel he would have schooled Wilder and beat Wilder in his prime. And then he'll have multiple losses. I think that just kind of ruins a person's legacy. I mean, look at Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. Moved up to heavyweight after, he was the pound-for-pound king for several years, Roy Jones Jr. From the 1990s to the early 2000s. He moves up to heavyweight, fights John Ruiz, becomes heavyweight champion. I believe he wins the WBA heavyweight strap. I believe he won the same heavyweight strap that Manuel Char currently has, but he won a belt. Obviously, he wasn't the #1 guy at heavyweight like Lennox Lewis was, but he won a version of the belt. He was considered the pound-for-pound king. Imagine if Roy Jones Jr. would have retired right there. Imagine if he would have said, you know what, I'm going to retire. Because at that time, he could have retired. He was already like 35. Imagine he would have retired right there. Right now, people will be talking about Roy Jones as being one of the best pound-for-pound fighters that ever lived. Wow, this guy won a belt at middleweight, won a belt at super middleweight, won a belt at light heavyweight, won a belt at heavyweight. This guy's the best. Pound for pound, one of the best fighters of all time. Plus, he was so fast, so athletic. But look what happened to Roy Jones Jr.'s career. He ended up kept fighting. He ended up going back down to 175. He got knocked the fuck out against Tarver, and his career went downhill. He's lost so many times. He's got knocked out against guys that he should have never lost against. You know? Now look at him. I believe he's still fighting. That's sad. That's sad that Roy Jones Jr. is still fighting. This dude is 50 years old. He's still fighting. Like, that's sad. But look at how tainted his resume is now. This guy at one time in his career was considered the pound-for-pound king. And now he has so many losses because he kept fighting for years and years. And I don't want that to happen because it will be a sad sight to see that happen to somebody like Wladimir Klitschko as well. Because, like I said, that these things happen. A guy fights for several years and he loses against guys he's not supposed to lose against. You know, Ali, another perfect example, kept fighting for too many years. What's his name? Sugar Ray Leonard kept fighting for too many years. Mike Tyson lost to Kevin McBride, people. Mike Tyson would have knocked out Kevin McBride in the first round in 30 seconds of the first round in his prime. Mike Tyson would have destroyed Daniel Williams. But Mike Tyson, kept fighting. He should have retired, but he kept fighting, and it kind of ruins his legacy a little bit, but losing two guys of that quality of level. So I just think that fighters should retire when they have good performances against young, hungry fighters, because there's nothing wrong with that. So I think Wladimir Klitschko should retire. But if he does opt, if this is true, and like say he actually does come back and he fights, and he's actually goes on to fight, I mean, $120 million, that's a lot of money. So I can't really blame Wladimir Klitschko for taking that type of money, especially as at his age. I mean, what athletes get that type of lucrative deal at his age? Normally, athletes who are young in their prime, they get that type of deal, $100 million. But, they're talking about $120 million. For a guy his age, 43, getting that type of money to end off his career with that type of money, that's awesome. So more power to him. But I just think he might end up, ruining it and damaging his career, because he's probably going to get knocked out. AJ is definitely going to beat him in the rematch. And I actually see Tyson Fury beating him again, to be honest. Because, like I said, Tyson Fury already figured out Wladimir Klitschko. What do you guys think of this? Again, none of this is confirmed. It doesn't, I don't know if it's true or not. But I'm just seeing multiple sources online. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think of the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'm out. Thanks for watching.